only thing they see is what comes out of you, you know, and that's colorless, you know. And I think that's so important that we walk in what we feel is, you know, what we've been created to do and born to do. And nothing disturbs me more is when I see young men and young women and older women doing things that they have not been created to do. How do you know you're doing something that you've not been created to do? Well, it's very easy. I don't enjoy it. You know, I do it because for the money. And that's what you will hear the majority of people say. You know, it pays my car, it pays my house, I'm doing it for the money. But what about your heart? What about, you know, the condition of your heart? What about your lack of desire? What about no passion? You know, all of those are important. I remember just recently I pulled a young man to the side who was a part of a contractual business. It was actually a cleaning business, and it was about 10 of them. And he was the only one sort of slacking, always having to be told what to do. He wasn't really into it. So I pulled him to the side one day and says, "Why are you here?" I says, "Because you know, you can go anywhere and make money, really, trust me." I says, "Right now, just look that way and seem like you probably can't, but you can." I says, if you just concentrate long enough and do what you need to do, you can work anywhere and make money. I says, "But listen, you don't like doing this." And I says, "I can see it in your heart." I said, "These other people, they're not doing it for the money. They like doing it. You know, that's why it's a big difference between day and night when people look at the two of you, because of the fact they see one person who really enjoy what they're doing and another person who really is not enjoying what they're doing. You know, so my question is, I said all that and presented that background because you and I both know that some of the history of Michael Jackson is, it's believed that he had some type of traumatic experiences in his life because he never really had a chance to be or to live out as a child. You know, he became so talented so fast from the discipline, of course, you know, of his father and his family and practicing all the time. I remember one of his interviews, he was talking about how he would hear the kids out there playing, but he would be practicing, you know. Now, you have somebody telling you that you need to do this because they see a certain talent, but your desire is, I want to be a kid. I don't really want to, you know, start at this age to do what I'm doing. But yet, would he have been as good as he is if he didn't start at that age? If his father didn't make him practice the way he made him practice? You hear that all the time with Tiger Woods and his father. You know, his father basically, you know, I don't know if he used the same intensity, but of course he made him practice, and he didn't even like it at first. He didn't like golf at first, you know, and then eventually it caught on and it became a passion. Is it that we have to trust others at times and things that we think we don't like, that they may be seeing some things that we don't see? Or is it like a catch-22? Here it is, we have the most talented man who died at an early age, but do we really feel like he's really in his heart was content to be what he was?
That's an awfully good question. And in a way, there might not be an easy way to find the answer because, I mean, if you look at anybody who's accomplished anything in their lives, I mean, if you look at like Bill Gates, you know, if he started on computers or in thinking about that type of technology, you know, earlier, then would he have gotten farther, or would he have, you know, I mean, in a way, it's difficult to really say what may have happened, but I mean, I guess in Michael Jackson's case, he probably wouldn't have reached as many people if he hadn't started as early, but he probably would have the same skill because he had the same desire, you know, and he had the same talent. You know, if he was exposed to the same kind of things, he probably still have the talent. Because there's a lot of people that I know personally that, in terms of singing, that have the talent and that have the desire, but they weren't exposed to the same type of things that others are. You know, I know a couple of singers just in my church that could sing anybody out the room, you know, but because they didn't have the same type of exposure, or maybe they didn't start as early as others. They didn't go as far. They haven't gone as far. Right. So I mean, I guess it's kind of clear that maybe he wouldn't have gotten as far, but he might have been a little more balanced in his own personal life. You know, so there's a give and take. You know, a lot of people who reach greatness have had to give up something else to reach that greatness. You know, to be sharpened in a specific area like that. Means you have to put some other things to the side because you're focusing on this, you know. That's true. So I mean, I think that just comes with any kind of greatness.
Right. That's a good answer. Thank you. How do you feel about that, Amani? What do you think?
Well, I look at it two ways. I look at it one, I think to a certain extent, his father did play a critical role in his development. They had CNN had like a whole, Michael Jackson life story, 24-hour thing going on. And one of the things that they were sharing, they were interviewing his mother, and she was saying how his father used to work construction or something in a factory. Used to work in a factory, so she was home with the kids, and she used to always tell them how talented they were. Like, these boys can sing, but he would just be like, I gotta work, I don't got time for that. So, I forget what happened to make him notice, but she's like, something clicked, and he started to notice and started to pay attention to how talented his sons were. And so then he begins to really invest his time and his effort into developing their talents. He spent all this money buying them instruments and, moving the furniture in the house so they could practice, because they lived in a small house, so he moved all this furniture, just doing a whole bunch of stuff to help develop them, taking them to talent shows, just doing a lot. And so I think that played a critical role in his development. Now, I mean, I don't know, if Joe Jackson's a man of God or anything like that. So, for us, that could go a completely different way, hearing from the Lord and being able to do things different, because there's a way you can do things, even if it's correct. There's still a certain way you can go about doing it, where if you're going to instill discipline, if you're going to practice and, cultivate a gift, there's still a way of going about it. So I believe that it may have been part of the way things were done that led to kind of his demise. I do believe he still would have been as great if he would have continued on the path he was going, because it's a myriad of things that had to come together for him to get to where he was. The talent, the cultivation, the going to these different places. But it was I think the way that things went about could have been done a little differently. It could have been done in more lovingly maybe, or, not as harsh, because children don't understand certain things. So if you're making them practice, and cultivate their gift, you may want to do it a certain way, to still see their potential, really encouraging them in their potential and their destiny and things of that nature. So, I mean, I think it's an excellent example for parents, if you see that your child has a gift and you see that your child has a destiny and potential to, really cultivate it. I know people, kind of sometimes, dog out Joe Jackson for the stuff he does now, and he does some wild stuff now, but really for that particular moment, cultivating his son's gift, I think, probably at that point played a pivotal role in getting him to where he, to where he eventually was, biggest there was, I guess, in the game.
So cultivation is a key factor to any development, huh?
Yeah.
In order to develop, there has to be cultivation.
But I think there also should be just the element of balance that just in anything, in any topic, or especially in raising your kids, you should introduce to them that balance is necessary in any level of life. I mean, if you take the type of practice that was implemented, I'm sure he would still have reached greatness if he was allowed to go out and play ball for an hour,
Right. Exactly.
So I mean, cultivation of that talent, encouragement of that talent is one thing, but to allow some sort of enjoying the life that, that's been given to you,
Right.
all of that's, I mean, too much of anything is going to be bad.
Right.
And to just miss out on your childhood, that's why, not saying that I know the guy or anything, but it just seems like it makes sense for someone to miss out on a childhood. He was on stage at the age of like 6 or something like that. 10, I don't know how old he was, but to miss out on that and to grow up and then to build a park as your house and call it Neverland. I mean, it's painfully clear that there was a lack of balance in his life.
Right.
So I mean, in anything you need balance.
That's key. I mean, one of the scriptures in Proverbs says, an unjust balance is an abomination to the Lord. And when you look at scriptures, God always weighs out that balance. Behold, I like Romans, was talking about behold the goodness, but also the severity of the Lord, So you always hear both sides, God is a loving God, but also God is a God of judgment. He will judge.